Wow. So this morning, I'm listening to videos like all night long. And yeah, that's kinetic energy. That's work in the brain. That's probably also what's increasing my intelligence is not only my observing my community, my like here in Ohio and observing my community on Facebook and also the internet, but I am listening to YouTube and listening to everything I can get my hands on. And then I made just a completely interesting realization that, yeah, not only, what is it? When you hang out with people, you want to be like in some way, in some aspect. You want to take on their strengths and their characteristics. Well, if you want to have a stronger body, you have to hang out with strong people. If you want to be smarter in a specific area, you have to hang out or listen or follow those type of people in those specific areas. And what stops people's evolution is the fact that they become so homogenized that they can't let in new information. Now people are like, well, Jillian, you don't listen to us. You don't know the Bible all like we do. No, I don't need to know the Bible. Like, I need to know aspects and areas that I want to know about, but not the agendas that are pushed onto me as far as certain aspects of the Bible. Because I don't want to be a born-again Christian. I don't want to be any kind of religion. I don't want to claim any side. And so if I want to claim a side, then I'll go hang out with whatever side of religion, but I don't. I want to take aspects from different people and see the connections and then understand the bigger picture, because there is another truth that is in the components of different people, places, and things. And so that's why I urge you guys not to be so homogenized in your politics, religion, science, followings, your group associations. If you are promoting a specific group association or an ideology or a thought process that's very, that is exclusive, that someone has to speak, I don't know, that you're following a group where there's members, and the members are speaking a specific language. They're not mixing in with the general public. They're, if you're in a group association that is demonizing a person, place, or thing, that is not showing the upsides, but only showing your perceived downsides. Because that's what I'm saying. You have to know the upside and the downside to everything. Because then you will then teeter on being biased, and then anything that comes out of your mouth is going to be colored with and filtered through your biases, through your agenda, through whatever. And so that's why I had to really conquer my own biases in order to write this book, or else I write this book from an agenda of attacking or demonizing or even just promoting, and that's it. No, you've got to see both the upside and the downside, and then where you think you can fit in between all the upsides and the downsides. And so when I think about intelligence, and we have 7.9 billion people on this earth, okay? Who you hang out with, again, who you hang out with, who you mix in with, who you listen to will increase your intelligence or destroy your intelligence. And so when you have less people on this earth, I'm not saying we want everyone to pass away, no, but less people, less viral suffering. That is actually a matter of fact, because in order for you to be out there in the community, you have to be cured. And when you're cured, you have to be in a closed system within your body. When you're in a closed system, you're trapping so much crap within you, and you're also losing intelligence, because that's part of the entropy process. And so you really can't survive in a very intelligent world in a closed system. But if you open your system, then you got to let everything in and release stuff, and that's a lot of energy coming in, a lot of energy going out. And like Sarah Farnell was saying, that's difficult. It's challenging. It's going to be plaguing us. Yeah, it is. But remember, society is changing. You don't have to be as ambitious and be out there, there's ways in which you can still be ambitious and successful without being out there until you build your body up to handle your environment. And even then, it's still uncharted territory that when you get your body to a very strong prototype where you're taking on the strength of your surroundings. Like, I'm in Ohio, and people out here are built like brick shit houses. They really are. My husband's built like a brick shit house. All of his friends are built like brick shit houses. And then I come from Silicon Valley, from a very intellectually advanced, very smart community, family, and society over there. And so I took my brains and I'm putting them over here, give my husband the opportunity to take on my intelligence. And then his DNA is going to help increase my physical strength, which he has. I feel like this morning I woke up and I had a little back pain, but it wasn't bad. I blew my nose. Okay, the back pains are relatively gone. But that is the strength of the viruses doing the kinetic energy, strengthening me. It's like doing exercises. When someone goes to the gym and they're doing exercises, the viruses, when you keep feeding the viruses, they're doing different kinetic energy, building you up and upgrading you. That's like doing exercises in the gym, but it's internally. And you're feeding it and you're still surviving. You're not overweight, underweight, or dealing with any kind of side effects from anything from what you're doing, or you're not tearing, ligaments and tendons and things apart or weakening them from all that repetition. But you're taking on the strengths of your society. And so then I'm thinking about migraines. I come from extreme kinetic energy, reparations, constant energetic output. And I think about, people in my world that I know that were very smart, that had the migraines and all the issues in their brain. And then people who were in very specific intellectual fields, scientists and scientists. And they're dealing with now, neurological disorders. And there is some kind of connection with the hormonal imbalance in the brains and psychosis and all of that, and then the amount of activity that goes on and the amount of output, the amount of throughput, the amount of just the intelligence. And then people suffer from that much kinetic activity. And some people suffer earlier because there's so much going on that the body has to then go through the cycle and repair itself. And that's what people have the migraines on, maybe around their period. Okay? Because some people have the hormonal migraine. They get it triggered by their period or by certain things in the environment that trigger it to start repairing, and then people try to then stop it, and that's where they decline because they're not feeding the energy and increasing and repairing the amount of not repairing, replacing the energy that's being used from that much kinetic activity. So then I think about today's society and how we're having more of the gender bending stuff. And we've lived in a binary world where it's man and his specific division of labor, woman and her specific division of labor. And now we're trying to give women the opportunity that the men have, though. Before physically they were not as capable, but nowadays some women are just as strong as some men. Believe me, I know. I used to play soccer in San Francisco with these huge girls that were built like men, and they were kicking balls like men right into my face. And so nowadays I think women can actually compete on a level playing field with men, but still there's certain hormonal advantages, but even that's going to the wayside. So when you think about man in his stereotypical sense, my husband, he's like a caveman, but he has intelligence. He's had some fun in his youth. I'm sure whatever he did when he was a kid or whatever increased his brain intelligence. Even so for me. And so, but he's stronger in the body, and he has a little trouble taking on my information. Still part of the mainstream, the whole Trump crap. That's okay. Whatever. But but so the men were like the prototypes, right? They were building their strength on the outside and hunting and gathering and playing that and dropping their seeds everywhere. Okay, we get that. And then the woman was a man given a womb, given extra hormones to increase her mental capacity because somebody had to keep the family going. Yeah, the man went out there and brought the food home, but she had to cook it and keep the house going, and he had to go and figure out some stuff. But then we innovated man even more so and gave him more intelligence, still kept the physique and still kept those division of labor, but kept increasing the intelligence of the man. And the woman was still going to be intelligent because she had to deal with the pain of cell regeneration when it came to bearing babies. I mean, women were brought up for many years to be the bearer of children, and that the pain increases intelligence. Men go out there and they're in pain by jockeying with each other and hitting each other and hurting each other. But that's a different kind of pain. That's toughening them up, right? When you hit somebody and the guys that play around like in the sports and they do all the lifting of the weights and they mess around with each other, they're toughing each other up. But with women, it's psychological. We toughen each other up psychologically. We play the mind games. That's why women have a hard time. A lot of women have a hard time getting along because they're playing mind games with each other, and they know it. And they feel it. Some women, yeah, you can get along with it because, you're not in a territorial environment. But with men, it's all physical. But with women, it's psychological. And we're fucking smart. Yes, we are. And so, but nowadays, we're seeing more of the bioengineering of men. And they're given more intelligence. Some, are getting man boobs and stuff. So they have the hormonal manifestations of feminism, which is okay. Effeminate men, no big deal. That's why there's such beautiful men out there that you're like, what the hell? Like sometimes it's hard to even can tell between now with kids nowadays. It's hard to tell between if they are specifically female or male. Now it's you can't even tell the difference, which is interesting. It's very interesting. I guess you can call it androgyny because there is an androgyny gene. And so now we're seeing the merging of both the strength of the man and the intelligence of the woman, where you can't even tell the difference between the two. But I think we had to compartmentalize to really hone in on the prototypes, get the women to be really, really, really intelligent. And the men are intelligent too, but they were more of the laborers. But then also the architects of our society were probably a merging of the two, a combination of the two, and then segregated or isolated the genes. So you had extreme testosterone, extreme estrogen, and they both had their hormonal imbalances and a lot of conflict, okay? And so then now we're merging those two together. And that's where the whole gender fluidity, gender bending, all that stuff, which is not a bad thing. It's interesting merging the two strengths together, because me just coming from California, from an intellectually advanced household, to then Ohio, where everyone is built like a brick shithouse, I tell you, I had to really assimilate to the mentality of dog eat dog. It's like, fight or flight around here. There is intelligence, absolutely there is, but it's a different kind of intelligence. Okay? And that's how the system was able to mold people for their specific geographical locations, the economy, and all of that. And so and I knew that different parts of the country had specific strengths, genetic strengths, intellectual strengths, whatever. So the main point here is that we have so much intelligence in our environment as far as the viruses, and they're coming from all over the world, from all different socioeconomic statuses, cultures, you name it. And I'm telling you, you want to become intelligent? Not only do you feed your mind a lot of information and you become so voracious in your appetite for knowledge, but you take on these viruses because they hold so much data. There is so much data in these viruses. And when you're taking therapies to block it, when you're taking antibiotics to block it, when you're trying to suppress the energy or suppress the symptoms, and you don't allow the excess that's eating away at your intelligence to release, people do not become more advanced. They become dumber. And I'm not trying to be mean, but you have to be able to assimilate to the world around you. And you've been given the gift of 7.9 billion people's strengths and weaknesses, intelligence, innovation. I mean, you are getting not only all the knowledge of the world on the internet, because everything on the internet is relevant relative to your intention and your perspective. If you can create a word around it, and a word is following the laws, and it follows the laws of physics of the simulation, anything is possible. You can create anything you want. But you also have to be able to take on the viruses. Not only take on the information on the internet, but you have to take on the viruses if you want to become excessively intelligent. But that also means that maybe what you're doing right now is very compartmentalized and narrow-minded. And I understand you have kids. I understand you have a job that you're making like 10, 20,000, 100,000 a year, whatever. And you have a big house. But here, that you can always do that again, or you don't have to live as high on the hog. What people do is they paint themselves in a corner because they're in these industries that are cannibalizing people, right? And they're getting paid for it. And so they have like $100,000 car. They have, $500,000 $1 million house. They have all their different networks and associations and social capital and people expecting them to live up to a specific, and so they can't increase their intelligence any more than what they were given as far as their education and their genetics, their genetic gifts that were given to them. And yeah, they might be living great, but to live indefinitely and see the changes in the simulation, it would mean that you'd have to take time away from your current situation. You'd have to take some time off because not everybody can do it. And I get it. But then people are gambling whether or not they're going to survive their current simulation. They might see indicators or might not. Remember, they're saying that we're not going to have cancer, disease, and chronic illness in the future. And the future is now. How many people... I don't even know. I mean, I can't be at every single household, but how many people who, like these kids who are having to get liver transplants? They were otherwise healthy children, and now they have to get a liver transplant because of hepatitis A. So if that right there is already happening, where kids are getting a disease when they were otherwise healthy, and now they have to get a liver transplant, imagine what an adult would have to deal with when there's an aggressive virus in the environment. They wouldn't get the luxury of cancer or indicators. Either they have a major sepsis attack where they have to get a transplant, or they outright die. I mean, that's just the reality. And so those are indicators. These kids that are suffering from Hep A, they said were otherwise healthy, and I can't corroborate, but I'm assuming that the news is going to give us the perspective relative to what we think is healthy. So if your child is out there and they're doing great, and yeah, they have a few issues, but it's manageable in this population. We have a lot of different kids, a lot of different issues and things, but they're still able to go to school and get up, and they're not going to the doctors all the time, except for maybe around cold and flu season. They'll get, an antibiotic or whatever, but that's normal. But when a kid that's relatively normal then suffers Hep A, and they have to get a liver transplant, and this here in Ohio, imagine what an adult exposed to some kind of aggressive virus, that when all the conditions are right, you would not get the luxury of cancer. And so that's what you have to understand. You need all the innovation and the advancements of the world around you, the strengths of the intellect and the strengths of the physical strengths. But you also need to release the excess. You also need to realize that you live in a closed system. And if you're not releasing that stuff, you're holding all that conflicting energy in. And so all that innovation and intellect and evolution and advancement and technology and whatever will work against you. People can advance and innovate and live indefinitely with evolution and innovation and all that stuff. And people die from evolution. People die from that much information. And so you have to know how to start releasing, or how do you get to know how to start opening up your system to release the excess intelligence that's not really working for you, and increase and take on new knowledge. And that means reading different things on the internet. that means that you release the mucus. Learn how to work your sphincter if you're having constipation, because when you're doing the JJs, your system now becomes cured that quickly. And then it freezes your shit in your colon. Not literally freezes, but there's so much high heat, high energy that it takes away so much of the moisture. It's like you're making diamonds out of your ass. That's how I've been able to explain constipation in the JJs, because it is a lot of energy. But initially, yeah, you are releasing a bunch of stuff and you'll be feeling a bunch of stuff. But that's the thing, is that you have to be releasing the excess, and it's a gradual process of opening up your system to allow intelligence. And then, yeah, any disease you hold inside, you will be communicable. But that's the thing, is you hold so much disease inside. That's why people experience predispositions in the future, because it's being held at bay by certain therapeutics or their own immune system, which is great. But then when you're not releasing that energy and you're utilizing all that B cell, T cell activity from your blood types and all that, and it's doing constant kinetic energy, then you start seeing the decline of people. You see them age, you see them contract autoimmune disorders sooner than they expect. Some people feel it at 30, other people feel it at 40, other people, I've seen it all. Personally, I've seen it all up close. Every single person that I know in my world, aside from my husband, has suffered from some kind of autoimmune disorder, especially in California. Especially in California, the hub of biotech, the hub of technology. Okay? Which means that, there's a lot of innovation within the therapies. And there are a lot of people that are very smart on both sides of the coast, New York and California. And then I come to Ohio, and there's autoimmune disorders here, yes. But that's not the predominant issue out here. A lot of it's obesity out here. A lot of it is, really burly people that will kick your ass if you look at them wrong. Okay? And yeah, you have your heart disease and diabetes, but you have the cancer. Yeah, you have cancer in California. But from what I experience here in Ohio, I see a lot more of the degradation of the obesity, the taking on the pressure because of the labor-intensive work. And yeah, obesity. A lot of type O's over here because a lot of labor-intensive. I'm a type O. I was gaining some pressure. I was gaining some weight. And when I lost all that weight, I was, holy shit. That's when I knew things were going to be like, wow, this is going to be awesome. When I lost that much weight on the JJs like that. It was crazy. And I wasn't even that big, but I was bloated. I know that. I've seen pictures of myself. And so you want to increase your intelligence. It's who you hang out with, what you read. Get out of your homogenized environments because they're not evolving you. If anything, they're taking you down. But that's someone who has to be evolutionary. They have to release their associations. They got to circle outside of their immediate homogenized fish pond. And again, if you can't do that, okay, well, then take on the viruses. Because the viruses is like you going into different microbiomes and taking on the intelligence. Going into Dubai, going into Egypt, going into Silicon Valley. But you take on these viruses because that is the fucking intelligence. And so, if you had so many different experiences, I've had a lot of experiences. John, Audrey, I'm sure you guys had your different experiences. But your experiences are going to increase so much of your awareness, your intelligence, and things will come together that quickly. And so that's why I'm becoming smarter. I'm like, I just couldn't figure out what the hell it is. And then I realized, yeah, it's not only the viruses, but yeah, I listened to everything on YouTube. I watch so many Netflix movies. I read everything on the internet. I watch all my friends and family. I see what they're going through. And then I start seeing the patterns. And then when the patterns are that unmistakable, then everything's predictable. So the whole, the prophecies from like Edgar Casey and And all the people of the past are like, oh, they prophesied this, and this. Well, it's freaking predictable. If you understand the patterns of humans and then how easy it is to manipulate an environment with chemistry, fuck anything is, it can be predictable. If you're the one that's pulling the strings or adding a little bit of this, a little bit of that to this area and that area, it's easy to go and predict what's going to happen if you're the one controlling the strings or if you can see the patterns of humans. Okay? It's not that difficult to predict what's going to happen with each human as well as society, because you're given clues. I mean, the movies, you know, the mission statement of the New World Order, the Georgia Guidestones. And then you're seeing legislation being rolled out already with Americans and potentially overturning Roe v. Wade. Is it because you're trying to make up for all the people that are being lost during COVID? That's one theory. Is that the theory? It's one theory. Or is it about destabilization? People are also used to having their women's rights, and then let's fuck with them and get everybody all like pissed off and stressed out. So they cause more stress, and then their immune system is activating more. I don't even know, but there's so many scenarios, and they're probably all true. It's probably a combination. It's not just one. It's not just, okay, we're making up for all the lost people from COVID. And it could be also that you're taking on kids that parents don't want, right? If you're making someone have a baby and they don't want it, then they're given to the system, and then the system goes, okay, we're going to do some major innovation. You know, if this kid was born, you know, deformed in some way and the mom didn't want it but was forced to go through the pregnancy, and okay, I'm so sorry, then they can take that child and figure out how to innovate and who knows what. Okay, so there's so many scenarios of why legislation is happening, why things happen, but then remember, you still have a choice. That's the thing, is you still have a choice. And you have to know how the world works. And if you don't, and you're just strictly reactive, then yeah, you know, everything that you think is true because you made it true. That is your reality. And I can't argue with you because that is your world. You think the world's out to get you. Well, it is because you've allowed it. You want it. Self-fulfilling prophecy. And so now, you know, you're given another simulation that you can work with. And it'll take something for you to transition from the old world of your old thought process to something new. And it means also maybe relinquishing old or people who you were in contact with every day. Because I'm going to tell you, friends and family are very influential. And if you are so reliant on if you're so reliant on being validated by your sisters, your brothers, your mom, your dad, your cousins, your different associations, if you're relying on that much validation, you're going to have a hard time evolving and even getting out of that or increasing your intelligence. It won't fucking happen. I mean, it could, but not really, because remember, they're going to keep pulling you into their storylines, into their way of life. And then you'll have no choice but to assimilate to them, or else how many excuses can you say? Well, I don't want to go out this Friday, or I don't want to go here, or I don't want to go there. I got to take care of this. I got to do that. I don't know. And so, yeah, I tell you, it's crazy. So I'm giving you guys an opportunity to get yourself out of this cesspool, this mess that the system did put us in. They apologize yet again on the Walking Dead. They apologize for the monsters they created in our society. They really did apologize. You have to understand both sides of the story. It's understand the upsides of things and the downsides of things, merge the two together, and you don't have to end up with the short end of the stick. But that would mean that the biggest detractors of evolution are your closest associations. My husband is the only one that I really answer to, and yeah, he supports me. He supports me on some level. Yes, absolutely. He still has his own mind, and that's fine. But if I had so many people like him in my world, which I had to release all the people's. I had to release anyone that was trying to make me assimilate to their world, or were judging me or telling me you should do this, and this. I released all of those influences. So only my husband is influencing me, but I'm also influencing him. Sometimes we come together and everything's great. Other times we're like this, and that's fine, honey. You think your way, I think my way. And I'll show you. Sugar's going to stay alive for a long time. What would she die from unless, she gets hit by a car? But I would never let that happen. He thinks that she's probably going to die someday. Okay, I understand that. But that's the thing. And so, but when you have 10, 15, 20 people who are working against you, forget it. Forget it. That's why you have to be very careful who you associate with, because they will find every way to undermine your progress, because either they don't want to change, so they'll undermine you and try to take away your ability to, or they'll talk about you behind your back or play these games. So I had to finally take myself out of every single association because I'm tired of being talked about and tired of everyone like thinking I'm stupid or crazy. And so here I am. But I've increased my intelligence, because then releasing all those associations and the fillers and the distractions, I then was able to go on the internet, speak my piece without feeling like I was going to offend somebody because they're close to me or they're next to me or whatever, or I hung out with them. So if I hang out with someone, I say, okay, your kids are this, this, and this, not their specific kids, but just kids in general, they might think I'm talking about them. And so then that's what stops people from speaking, because they're afraid to offend their friends and their family and their colleagues. And that's what's going to hinder a lot of evolution, is when you are still looking for validation from your political associations, religious associations, spiritual associations, family associations, friends associations. And when you release all of that, if you can, you will have so much freedom. That's the freedom, is getting out of your homogenized circles. You don't realize they build their own jail. I finally took myself out of the jail of all that expectation. And now it's just me, my husband, my dog, my friends on the internet. Anyone that understands me, hey, I'll support you. I'm not asking that, that you rah me all the time. Take care of your shit. Be an amazing force. Stay alive. Because I'm going to tell you, if I keep living here, right? I want to see your faces on the internet. If I don't see you physically, I don't really need to see you physically, but I want to see your faces come through on the internet between now and who knows what, 2050, 2060. And we can talk about, hey, remember back then when things were kind of crazy? That was just like yesterday, because it really was yesterday. When you think about it. Everyone else is going through the cycle of dying and reproducing and looping in the same holidays and the same bullshit. And we have the memory just like that, where everything was like yesterday. The 60,000 group was just yesterday. Dr. Phil was just yesterday. Everything was just yesterday, because my memory is that sharp. And I remember all what I had to go through, all this stupid bullshit. But it made me stronger. And so that's what you guys got to go through, is you guys got to deal with the hardship, the kinetic energy of the viruses, of having to cut down the distractions and the people undermining your ability to evolve. And they might do it nicely, like, oh, most respectfully, I don't agree, or most respectfully, sometimes people will find ways to undermine you in the most nicest way fucking possible. Or they'll placate you, or they'll blow smoke up your ass, or shine you on, okay? And I've seen all of that. So anyways, it's 5-something in the morning. And here I am awake. It's been a while since I've been up this early. And coherent. Okay? Because these viruses are insane. These viruses are insane. And that's what I'm saying. If I'm dealing with these viruses the last couple weeks, where I've had to sleep and eat and really just take the naps and oh my God, I can only imagine what those who are just starting the JJUs are going to be going through. And it's not easy, guys. It's not easy, but it's doable, but it's not fucking easy. Okay? And it's unpredictable, because you might start out doing it and then realize that it's a lot of work, and it's easier to be in a closed system than an open system. And that's what it comes down to. Evolution is with an open system. De-evolution and being cured is in a closed system, and it's a predictable lifespan. And you can have an amazing life. I'm telling you, I'm watching my friends from high school. They're traveling around, doing stuff. I see them aging, but that's the simulation that they've adopted. They have a bunch of kids, huge associations. They're still friends with people in my junior high. They haven't changed their friend network. They have a little bit of associations with people in their jobs, but they still hang out with the same people in high school. So when they all grow up together, they all die together. And I get that. And I understand, I can't knock it, because They have given us the infrastructure. They have helped us advance. And so we thank them for their service. When you think about it, anyone out there in the public doing what they're doing to keep the innovation, advancement, the infrastructure going, setting up things for someone to then maintain that's in the school system right now. We thank them for it. Thank Mark Zuckerberg. Thank the YouTube people. Thank all the CEOs, Jeff Bezos, all those are out there in the public. What's his name? Elon Musk. Thank them all because they're out there sacrificing themselves. And I see Mark Zuckerberg out there in the public. He might be heavily vectored or not, who knows? But he has a lifespan. You know that the environment, every place he goes, is going to cannibalize him because these viruses are aggressive. Priscilla and because she's a doctor, his wife, will probably keep him nipped and tucked in here and there and bioengineered here and there and all that stuff. But that's the sacrifice the movers and shakers of our society who are in those positions making millions and millions of dollars. That's what they've signed up for. And they get a good life for that. And let them. Anyone that's in the grocery business, that's out there in the public, scanning your groceries, dealing with the public every fucking day, they deserve 20, 30, 40 bucks an hour. Because they got to deal with all the viruses hitting them. And they are suffering. Okay? And so now you look at people who work on the front lines, pizza delivery, all the people that are out there, thank them for what they're doing. Appreciate them. Because when you feel these viruses, when you feel your system finally opening up, you know exactly what they're going to be dealing with. If not now, in the future. And then you find a way to strategize your way through this. And you need to strategize. And I thank my husband. I do everything I can to keep him going. Because I know he wants to live a great life. Whatever that is. Whatever he's doing. Okay? I'm going to go drink my coffee and type away. But you have access to all of this. But you got to deal with the pain. You can't run away from the pain, guys. You got to deal with it. And you have to release. And I'm telling you, if you figure out your sphincter, that's the key to it. And that's the craziest thing. But that's the key to it. Once you figure out your sphincter and you exercise that and you get it to be so strong, then you can release the pressure at any point in time without taking away substance through your gut. That's why we were given everything we were given. That's why the Sphinx in Egypt, that's why the Rosicrucians knew the Sphinx, and why the Sphinx is all about the sphincter and the whole alimentary canal. And you have blockages in the alimentary canal, yeah, you're going to have atrophy in your lines of defense and release and retention. And then you can bioengineer people, and then they have a lifespan. And that's when you're under control of the medical holistic system, when you can't release or retain at your discretion. And now it's time that you have that access to power, like literally. All right, bye.